Hi, my name is Isaac Wright. Welcome to the Virtual Mentor Program. My guest today is Mr. Tyler Hill, the founder of Loyal Coffee. We're here at the Ivy Wild School where the headquarters of Loyal Coffee is. Tyler, why don't you tell us a little bit about Loyal Coffee?
Yeah, Loyal Coffee is a coffee company based in Colorado Springs. What's super dope about Loyal Coffee is it's owned and operated by 6 coffee professionals. So it's owned by baristas, run by baristas, which is a really unique concept that there's 6 equal owners. I think that kind of started because we had all worked in coffee companies before, but our companies were never ran by coffee people, and so there's always little nooks and crannies in the way our businesses were run that we had worked in before that had not been thought out by people who had worked in coffee. And so we were really excited to start a coffee company that was run by baristas with maybe a little bit of the foundation as you open a cafe or roasting or open a roasting facility where the details were thought out by people who had already worked in coffee. And so we're doing 2 main things. We have a cafe in downtown Colorado Springs, and we're also going to be doing roasting. So here we're in the roasting facility and our training facility, and where we'll be doing all of our wholesale stuff here, and then we'll have a really gorgeous cafe in downtown.
Yeah, that's awesome. This place is super, super awesome. So is this the distinguished, place where all the behind-the-scenes stuff is happening?
Yeah, so our cafe is just about to open. And so right now it's very eclectic with a lot of things that are about to go into the cafe. So that's why there's a lot of stuff going on. Concrete for the build-out, and our espresso machine for the cafes here, for example. But the main goal of this is this is where we're going to be doing our roasting. So we're going to store all of our coffee, store all of our extra things. And in here as well, we're going to do a lot of coffee training. So what's really fun about this half of the building here is we're actually sharing the space with a fellow named Vance. And Vance owns a company called Congruent Services. So he does espresso machine maintenance, and he also sells coffee equipment. So when this is all polished and finished, again, you guys are here kind of on the ground level. Over on this side, we're going to be selling espresso machines and coffee equipment. And then with that being said, we also will have equipment in here that we can train people. One of the hard things in coffee shops is you want to train people, but you're open. And so it's hard to train them when you're open because you have guests coming in and out. So for Loyal Coffee, we're going to be able to take people out of that cafe and do one-on-one training with them in here, which is going to be really awesome. And then here on this other side, we're going to be doing roasting and storing bags of coffee all the way to the roof and these kinds of things. So there's 2 things going on. It's a shared space. Again, I think that's really important to note. We're sharing the space with another business, and Loyal Coffee started. There's 6 people collaborating, all working together. And everything we do, it's in our DNA. It's collaboration, working with other people. So it only made sense to share this super dope space in the Ivy Wild School with somebody else. We don't ever want to do anything all by ourselves. We're much more successful, I think, in the midst of collaboration. And so us sharing the space with Vance is another example, and I think a good detail showing, man, we're about working with other people to make everyone around us successful.
Yeah, definitely. That's awesome. So how does Loyal Coffee differ from any other coffee brand, coffee shop, kind of a thing?
It's a good question. I think on some levels we don't differ from a lot of people. We are a lot like the people that we admire, right? You try to be like the people that you aspire to be like, right? And so I think on some level we're trying to learn from the people that have gone before us and honor them and do the things that made them successful. There's a lot of people that we really admire, that we're really thankful for, that have invested in us. And so we're not out to try and just stick it to the rest of the coffee industry and say, yo, we're trying to just go crazy and be way better and kick you all in the knee. But with that being said, I do think we're doing some really fun things and some really unique things. You have to, I think for us, when we're building a business and when we built this concept here, we had to be very aware of where we are. If we were to open a cafe in Los Angeles, the things that we would do would be different than opening a cafe in Colorado Springs. So how are we different? We're going to be very different than a lot of coffee shops in Colorado Springs because this is what Colorado Springs calls for. So in Colorado Springs, there's a big need for specialty coffee that you can get quickly. In Colorado Springs, you can get a lot of specialty coffee, but not very fast. So we've worked very hard to implement systems in our cafe that give specialty coffee quickly. So there's a lot of great coffee in town. but they're not. You can't get it all quickly necessarily. So we, using our 6 people who have worked in coffee for a very long time, have tried to make systems and procedures where you can get coffee very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Colorado Springs has so much natural beauty. It's a beautiful city.
Yeah.
It's one of the most beautiful cities in America, in my opinion. But that beauty is not always reflected in design, and design specifically in the cafe. So we spent a lot of time, energy, and money in our cafe on interior design and architecture, making sure that the inside of our cafe really reflects the beauty in our city, and really hopefully sets an example for our city on the importance of interior design, on the way you build your benches, on the way that people will flow through your building. So we, again, using the 6 minds all collaborating together, really tried to plan some things out in a strong way where design was of a major focus. And so in Colorado Springs specifically, I think our design is what will really, really set us apart. And then again, there's 6 of us working all together. I think the quality of coffee is going to be, is the trajectory is that it's going to be some of the best coffee around. I'm really excited about that and really thankful for the people on my team that are going to help us make super dope coffee. We say a lot like we're going to make coffee we love for the city we love. And so we're trying to reflect how we love our city in the quality of our design, the quality of our product. So in Colorado Springs, man, we're just trying to do our best. And I think there's a lot of people doing their best, and that's cool. And that's what we're doing.
Yeah. So in terms of like coffee, coffee taste, just the general, thing around food and coffee.
Sure.
How is it, special? What is the big thing you guys are going for in terms of that?
I mean, I think when all is said and done, we're going to make stuff that we think tastes really good. And in coffee, there's a lot that goes into that. And so understanding where we're getting our coffee from, where, how those farmers are growing it, how the roasters are roasting it, paying attention to every detail. At Loyal, we often say every detail profoundly matters.
Yeah.
So that goes from making sure that our chairs in our cafe don't squeak when you pull them out. Like, that's annoying. That hurts your ears. That's gonna ruin your experience in the cafe.
Yeah.
And man, if your ears are like annoyed by screeching chairs, your coffee might not taste as good, like in your subconscious, right? So that matters. But I mean, when all is said and done, down at the very core, what really matters as well is just treating our product with integrity and working with working with honor and integrity. Like, there's 10,000 man hours that go into a cup of coffee before it gets to the consumer. So we're talking the farmers who farmed it, the producers who worked with the coffee after it was farmed and picked and processing the coffee. There's exporting and importing, right? Then there's the roasting and things. Coffee is the second highest traded commodity in the world, next to oil.
$48 billion, I think, in the country.
It's bananas. Like 80% of America drinks coffee at least one time a day. 80%. There's a lot of people that have put their hands on coffee before it has gotten to us. And, there's the farmers and the producers and all of these people. So for me, there is an issue of like integrity and treating the coffee the best we can, because a lot of people had put their work into it before me. So before it even got to me to make the coffee in the cafe, there's so many people that influence it. So I want to honor those people, and I want to do my best to really show them honor and respect and love for them doing everything that they did. And so I think as long as we work with a little bit of humility, we're always striving to be our best, like, our coffee's going to taste great.
Yeah.
And then people will taste the honor, more or less. Like I said, we've been in coffee for a long time, and so we're always learning, always trying to grow. I think one of the biggest keys is just trying to be humble. Some coffee professionals think they know it all, and that's really sad, because coffee is pretty intricate and very deep. So there's always something to learn, and we're going to keep that attitude for as long as we exist. There's always something to learn. I think if we're always learning, our coffee will always get better.
So how does the name Loyal Coffee kind of like go into that? Because, you're talking a lot about like being humble and honoring the people that came before you. How does Loyal Coffee, that name, did that kind of come from those ideas?
I think the story of Loyal is really more rooted in and our love for the city and how much we want to really contribute to it. There's a lot of people in Colorado Springs that maybe will say it's like a second-tier city, or that it's not that cool, or something like that. Or people maybe have complained from time to time that it's not as good as Portland, or it's not as good as Seattle, or whatever. Well, I love this city, and I think there's a lot of great people. And for me, I would rather stay here and contribute and invest in the city rather than abandon it because it's not good enough. And so then I think that would be the same for all 6 owners. We've all had opportunities to open cafes in other cities or move somewhere else. But instead we've decided to stay here and contribute culturally and do the things that we can do to make the city as good as we possibly can. So instead of moving, we decided to stay loyal to Colorado Springs and invest in the city that we believe in. I believe in this city. I believe it's one of the best cities around. And so I'm going to do what I'm good at to help contribute to that. There's a lot of people that have just bounced and said, I'm just going to go somewhere where it's already cool. And I think our opinion is, well, how about you just stay in whatever your gift is, whatever you're good at, whatever you love to do that the best that you can here and invest where your feet are. Plant your roots and invest, and it'll become the city that you want it to be if you do what you're good at. And for me, I love coffee, and that's maybe what I'm good at. And so that's what I'm going to do. And that's kind of what Loyal really is. So we hope to be a brand that inspires you, whatever you're good at, that you should do it the very best that you can here. And you, whatever you're good at, you do that thing, and be loyal to here and invest in the city, and that will contribute to it becoming great. And that spirit of kind of revival or this Renaissance attitude is very much alive in Colorado Springs right now, and I'm so proud to be a part of that. And Colorado Springs in 5 years is going to be a different city than it is now. It's different now than it was 5 years ago, and we're still in the midst of that Renaissance. And so this is just a small part of that, and there's people before us who are already loyal to the city. There's going to be people after us, and we're just lucky to get to be a part of investing in this super dope city that we believe in.
So, to you, Loyal Coffee is more of like a movement, a movement for people to, really plant their roots and, become part of the city that they love.
Yeah, I think, when you talk about what's a good brand, right? A good brand is when somebody sees your logo or when they think about you. What's most important about a brand is the first thing they think about when they see that logo. The first thing they think about when they think about you. What I want people to think when they think about Loyal Coffee is like, damn, I love this city. I'm so proud to be a part of Colorado Springs. I'm so glad that I'm here. I'm so glad that Colorado Springs has things that I'm proud of. So as much as we're going to be one of the greatest coffee, we're going to do coffee the greatest that we can, and coffee is of the utmost importance to us. We want to be a brand where people here are very proud of it. Very similar to the Ivy Wild School, and that's why I'm so excited that our roasting facility is here. Somebody has a new guest at their home, somebody comes in from out of town, they take him to the principal's office and they take him to the school to say, man, I'm proud of Colorado Springs. Colorado Springs is really cool. Come check out the Ivy Wild School. I want Loyal Coffee to be the same thing. I want people, when you go on vacation somewhere else, I want you to make sure to pack your Loyal Coffee shirt because you're proud of Colorado Springs. And I think even when our brand and coffee company expands into other states, we still want that same attitude. Right? We want people wherever they are to be proud of where they are. So Loyal Coffee is so much more than just trying to make coffee taste good or make it a cool place. It's very much about investing in where you are. So wherever you find yourself, do your best to contribute to that place. And that's really what Loyal Coffee is about. And again, that doesn't mean it's only in coffee, right? Whatever you're good at, you do that thing where you are really well. And that's what I really want the brand of Loyal to be about.
Yeah, definitely. So, I think that this is an amazing example of somebody who's passionate about something.
Sure.
I mean, one of the biggest problems that I've had in the past is, finding something that I'm really passionate about that I can get behind. And, I definitely see that. How did you get to this point of passion with this project?
Yeah. I mean, I think, I think there's a couple parts to that. I didn't start enjoying, like when I first started growing and developing my personality, it had nothing to do with coffee or art or any of these kinds of things. I actually started out as an athlete. I was a baseball player. I had a full ride to play college baseball, and but I just really felt like that really wasn't where I wanted to go. And I think a big part of that was why I loved baseball. I didn't really get along with a lot of the stereotypical athlete or jock or whatever, and I just didn't feel like my personality was thriving in that world. So I ended up giving up my full ride scholarship to play baseball, and I moved to Colorado Springs where they didn't have a baseball team, and that's where I went to college. Was here at UCCS.
Mm-hmm.
There I studied leadership and communication, and at college I started hanging out with people who were really different than me. So in sports for me, I was just around the same type of person all the time, and I really grew out of that. I started hanging out with artists and musicians and people who enjoyed food and these people expressed themselves a lot, and the people that I was around really gave me permission to be myself. And so I think growing into that, I really began to explore, who is Tyler Hill? What does he love to do? And who is he really? Because when I was in sports, I was always trying to be like the other athletes. I was always trying to fit in with them. And while baseball was fun and I loved it, and I still do love it, I wasn't always being myself. So it's hard to be passionate about something when you're not, I think, fully experiencing your own personality. So throughout college, I really got an opportunity to be myself and really explore who Tyler Hill was. And it was in college that I found coffee. And I think so as this kind of change in my personality was happening, I began to become around coffee, and I got to just fall in love with it because that's what I wanted to do, not because I was trying to impress somebody else. I think so often we pursue a passion because we're trying to impress our parents. We're trying to impress some significant other, right? We're trying to impress all these other friends or something like that. And when you're doing something for somebody else like that, just trying to impress them, your passion's kind of a fraud. It's not real. You really got to find what you are actually passionate about, not just because you're trying to impress somebody else or you're trying to look good on social media or whatever. So as I was developing my own personality, I started to just explore coffee because that's what I loved. So to be honest, just because I own a business doesn't really mean that I'm more passionate about coffee or not, because I already was passionate about coffee. I just fell in love with it. And so even if I wasn't opening a business, I still would be passionate about coffee.
Yeah.
Even if I didn't work in a coffee shop, I still would be passionate about it because that's just what I love. It's what I do. As a matter of fact, when I first started exploring coffee, I applied at a coffee shop. When I was in college, there was only one specialty coffee shop in town, and I applied there 5 times, and they didn't hire me. None. 0 times they didn't hire me. And so I just bought all the books I could, and I just read all I could. So my first 2 years in coffee was not in a shop. I was just learning because that's what I love. So I guess to me, where does that passion come from? It just comes from just that's what I wanted to do, and that's what I really loved, and I just did it. It had nothing to do with making money. It had nothing to do with impressing anybody else. It's just what I felt was good for me and productive for me. It's what I wanted to do. It's what I was excited about. So that's what I did. And it's just so happened grown into my own business, which I'm very thankful for. But there's a lot of people that are passionate about things. You don't have to own a business to be passionate about something. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, that's definitely very important. So would you consider yourself an entrepreneur in your own merit?
Yeah, I definitely would. I think, being an entrepreneur does not just mean that you're some fancy suit and tie whippersnapper going to all these fancy meetings all the time. I think an entrepreneur is somebody who pursues again what they love and is able to begin to cultivate that. So I think you could be an entrepreneur in your own home as a mom with some kids and cultivate a great culture. Being the CEO of your family and growing up your kids in a positive way and investing in them and teaching in them. Right? You're investing not only in your kids but where your kids are going to influence the world, right? That's an entrepreneurial attitude that I think is beautiful. There's so many stay-at-home moms that are super incredible entrepreneurs, right? Then there is the people that are opening businesses that are growing and and raising money and getting investors and doing all those things and coming up and cultivating their ideas. And so I would say, like, even before I opened this business, I was an entrepreneur. You know, I've always been kind of a dude who had ideas and wanted to make those ideas happen. I was really excited about those ideas, and but the reality is, for me, I have a lot of ideas, but sometimes I don't always execute them so well. So I've been really learning how much I need other people. I think the biggest problem with an entrepreneurial attitude, I think, and with people that I know that identify as entrepreneurs, is that, like, it's all about me. Like, yo, come check out this thing I made. Like, I did this. This is all about me. And really, man, those aren't the most successful people. I think the people that are doing it all about themselves are often the most lonely. They're the ones that maybe are successful monetarily, right? But they've burned so many bridges that to me, like, that's not very successful. So I think I am an entrepreneur in that I have a lot of ideas and I'm trying to cultivate things, but to me it also means bringing other people into my story, bringing other people into my circle, and doing it with other people. So if I was just by myself, I would be a lot of ideas, but none of those ideas would have come to, like, fruition. They wouldn't have been completed. So I would be pretty unsuccessful because none of my ideas would have made it. So am I an entrepreneur? Yes. But also, everybody around me is also entrepreneurs because they're the ones also helping me execute my ideas. And in the same way, hopefully, I'm helping other people also help their dreams come true. So I would say, if you're pursuing what you love, if you're excelling within your personality, you're probably an entrepreneur in one way or another. Does that mean you own your own business? Not even a little. Does that mean you got some dope startup? Not even a little. I think the attitude of an entrepreneur is pretty diverse and can look like a lot of different things than we think it looks like.
Yeah, definitely. So there's a concept that I've kind of had for a while that I've kind of come up with. It's the find your Corvette concept.
Okay.
And, you know, for like the longest time, I've wanted this 1973 Corvette Stingray. And when I started working on my business, like 9-10 months ago, that came into my brain anytime that I had this feeling of what it would be like at the end. And how I would know I was successful. This object, it wasn't the object itself, it was what the object represented for me. It represented the life that I wanted, it represented, having the financial freedom at, a young age to, being that successful to have a car like that. Have you ever had anything like that in your life?
Yeah. So I have a lot of goals, I would say. For me, there's a great spiritual leader in my life, a guy that I admire a whole heap, and he talks about there's something he says a lot. He says every step in arrival. He talks about life being every step in arrival. And and that has really spoken to me a lot. And I'll get to your question a little bit around about what I'm a talker. That's why I'm the one in Loyal Coffee doing these interviews, right? Chit chat, and I'm a storyteller and whatever. But this guy says every step in arrival, and that lesson really meant a lot to me. And an example of that for me is my mom's been sick for a large portion of my life, and she eventually got to a point where she needed a heart transplant, and we thought, kind of our attitude was, once my mom got her heart transplant, that everything would kind of be done and everything would be complete. And our attitude was, okay, if we can do whatever we can to get to this moment, mom would be okay and everything would be good. And she eventually did get her heart transplant. It was an incredible part of our journey and story. And that my mom's whole sickness, we could do a whole podcast on just what I've learned from that time. But what's interesting is when she got her heart transplant, she wasn't facing death anymore. But what happened when she got her heart transplant, I think what we didn't think about all the way through was that when we reached that goal, when we reached that opportunity, that there was more things to go after that. And I think we didn't fully grasp that, like, the story was still going to continue. So we did reach our goal when my mom got her transplant, but then what happened was there were a lot of other things that went on, right? So we arrived there. That step was an arrival, but then it was time to take another step, and that next step was another arrival. I think growing up, a lot of times I had these goals in baseball. Well, if I just do this and this, I will have arrived. And it's as if, like, that next step we're going to take, like, does that mean there's nothing else after we arrived there? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That makes sense. And sometimes I think we get lost because we've set a certain goal and we've gotten there, but then we don't necessarily have it gives us a narrow sometimes perspective where if we reach that goal, like, then what? What's next? And so I've had a lot of goals, but for me, what I learned through my mom's heart transplant, is when you arrive somewhere, there's another step to take, and that step is really important as well. Every step in arrival, every step we're taking, we're arriving somewhere else. And so, for me, I think a goal, what I've learned to be my biggest goals, I have some monetary goals. I have some goals of things that I want. I have some financial freedom that I want for me and my wife and my family. But to me, my biggest goal is that I want to keep moving, and I want to keep growing, and I want to keep learning, knowing that every step I'm arriving, every step that I'm hopefully becoming a better man, that I'm becoming a man full of more integrity, that I'm becoming a man full of more honor, that I'm becoming a man who's positively impacting my community. So I'd say my biggest goal, my biggest Corvette, is that I'm wanting to continuously grow, saying that every step I take, I want to be an arrival somewhere else. I think in the midst of that, there's a lot of little goals, right? So that Corvette's a great goal on that journey.
Yeah.
But I've grown to be very weary of setting just one particular goal, just one thing that I want, and saying, this is my point of arrival. Because if you arrive there, and then there's nothing else, like, does that mean, like, what? Like, your life's all done?
The world's gone.
And I think some people are so narrow-minded that they can't, like, they can't see beyond that, right? And so I think one of the other bummers, and again, I'm not saying short-term goals are bad or long-term goals are bad. You need goals to keep taking steps.
Yeah.
Something I say a lot to people is we become so consumed with God's will for our life that we forgot about God's will for our day, right? So we look at these goals that are so far and so big ahead of us, right? We look for our goals like, right, we're in like a big dark tunnel and we shine a flashlight really far away. We're trying to see that big goal we set way out here. And then we're walking through and we're like stumbling through the forest because we're not looking at like what's in front of us. So I think a lot, right? Like I said, every step's an arrival.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're looking at the goal so far ahead that we forget that there's a lot of influence we have right here, right around us. And sometimes I think we miss with these big goals, the little goals that we can set to impact people that are right beside us. So, I could be standing here, and my goal is I want to have a successful coffee company. I want to make money selling coffee. But also, you can come up to my bar right here, and you're right in front of me. And there's an opportunity for me to change your day. There's an opportunity for me to make you a better person. There's an opportunity for me to make you happier. So that's an every step is an arrival. That's the next step, literally 10 seconds in the future where I could reach a goal, making the world a better place, making you a better person. Now, I'm also selling you coffee and making my business successful. And that's my big Corvette goal. But I can't forget that you in front of me is really important. If we forget about those little steps in front of us, that big Corvette goal will never get there. If we make a lot of bad decisions that are in front of us, little decisions that aren't the right ones, we'll never get to the Corvette. So I want to dream about the Corvette. And I want to be there. But I also want to make sure that my goals in front of me are very tangible and real, so I don't miss that. So yes, I do have some of those goals.
Yeah,
absolutely. I want to be able to just live a life really where I'm helping other people, and where I'm able to have the freedom to do what I want, so I can be with and help and hang out with the people that maybe need me, or the people that I need. So that's really my big goal, and there's a lot of little steps to get there. So, I mean, I know it's kind of a roundabout, and I didn't actually answer your question, but
no, yeah, that was good.
On goals, maybe we'll relate with some of your homies out in the webosphere.
Definitely. So you talk a lot about, helping people.
Sure.
And it seems like you have a lot of, your life is very structured around, giving and being loyal to the place that you love and really supporting where you are and the people that you're around. How did you get to that point? What are some of the things in your life, in your childhood that structured that to become that way?
A lot of people don't see the service industry as a viable career, right? Like you think, a server is just serving for a little while. I get asked all the time, what are you gonna really do with your life? This is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I am making coffee. People don't see the service industry often as a career. And I didn't at first either. But when I recall growing up, my parents were servants of people. My parents really took care of others really, really well. Mm-hmm. And I think that installed in my DNA as a person, really just, I was shaped so much by how my family served other people. We always had strangers in our home. We always had people who needed something in our home. And my dad was in the jails all the time, hanging out with the people that nobody else wanted to hang out with, and he was serving them really well. So for me, that really installed in me a passion to serve others. And when I started working in the service industry, I really found that's something I was very passionate about. Mm-hmm. Getting to serve somebody, getting to create for them a great experience where they felt valuable, where they felt loved, where they really felt taken care of. And really, again, I mentioned a little bit my mom being sick for a large portion of my life. My dad is a literal saint. The way he had stayed faithful to my mom when she was very hard to take care of. Mm-hmm. The way that he loved her so well. I saw true service modeled in the most profound way. And that really impacted how I see people and how I want to interact with and take care of others. And so for me, I really didn't care if service was a good industry move or if it was a big career move. I felt like I was supposed to serve others. And so watching the way my family served and took care of other people and the way my dad took care of my mom really developed that in me.
Yeah.
And so that was big, I think, as far as growing up. Then what I really found, I think, as well, is when I first started doing well in coffee and became a little bit successful, it became very easy to start collecting accolades and having a lot of things. And I started reading and studying a lot of the ways monks lived. Actually, I became very intrigued and interested in monastic living. And so I never felt called or inspired to go exclude myself from the world and go live in a monastery. But there's a lot of things that monks did that really have inspired me in the ways that they, for example, did live with very little.
Yeah.
And the ways that they were, they kind of stuck to their values and stuck to their guns. And monks have made some of the best liquor of all time, right? And a lot of monks, in order to do their prayers and live the lifestyle they felt like they were called to, they chose a craft and they did it really, really well. Oh, I think part of the way that monks were able to make such good things in the past, things like chartreuse is one of the best things a bartender can use. It's one of the best ingredients. It's incredibly popular. One of the reasons monks can make that so well is because they take away so many distractions from their life. They've separated themselves from so many things. So as I began to take away a lot of distractions from my life, having to look cool, having to impress other people, it really opened these doors for me to really take care of people really well. And I learned how, as I tried to adopt some of these monastic ways in my modern life, I began to apply them, and it opened some doors for me to really take care of other people, because I wasn't worried about having to have all this fancy clothes or having to have a big house, having to have all of these things. The simplicity that was in my life really changed things. And so it's I only have 2 pairs of pants, and I only have 10 shirts or 7 shirts or something, and 2 shoes, and and I think those things has really opened the door for me to just, again, I don't have all these distractions of things. I'm just trying to take care of people And yeah, so it's just all about people, man. And I think the more and more you go around the world, you see that like people is what's important.
Yeah.
You can be the top CEO, but if you don't have good people around you, you're not very successful. And I've met a lot of people all over the world that don't have very much, but they have people. And they're some of the most happy and successful people that I've ever met. So growing a business and forsaking relationships, growing a business that won't impact the people around you in a positive way, in my opinion, isn't a successful business at all. And people are very valuable. And so just watching the way service happened as I grew up, kind of following a new monastic way and getting rid of all these distractions and seeing more people instead of seeing things, really changed my life.
Yeah, so like a minimalistic lifestyle.
Yeah, and I think that's different for many different people, you know? I don't think everybody's called to just have one pair of pants, right? Like that maybe is extreme for you, but I do think there is a threshold and there's a capacity that we all have where we can surround ourselves with so many distractions that we can't do what we're good at, that we can't thrive in our giftings. You have specific gifts that you were given that you're really good at. And it would be a tragedy if you were to waste those because you're so distracted on Instagram that you can't do what you're good at. Or you're so distracted trying to impress somebody who isn't worth impressing that you can't do what you're good at. So I think there's a bit of, as we grow, we need to learn to refine our life, cut off branches that aren't contributing to our life, and make space for us to do what we're really good at. So I think for some people, that's very minimal. I don't think it's awful if you have a nice house or a nice car.
Yeah.
Unless it's distracting you from doing what you're good at. If you lose that opportunity to do what you're good at, then you're losing, you know? So it doesn't matter what you have. I think as long as those things that you have and those things that you do aren't distracting you from being the best you can be. And if you're the best you can be, then you're successful. And if having some things around you still lets you be the best you can be, so be it. But for me personally, having a lot of things around wasn't helping. You know, and having a big social media presence wasn't helping. My tendency is to try to impress other people. And when I'm at my worst is when I'm trying to impress every single person around me. It makes me weaker and I'm really not able to serve others. I think I was meant to serve other people, not impress other people. But sometimes I'm trying to impress them too much. When I'm trying to impress you, I'm not serving you. So for me, I got to take those things out of my life that's trying to impress other people. So maybe I don't look that cool anymore, but but at least hopefully I'm able to serve others really well.
So do you think that you talk a lot about not impressing people? Being self-possessed. That seems like it's very important to you.
Yeah. Man, it just breaks my heart when people aren't who they were created to be. I think so many people have created a facade. You know?
Yeah.
They aren't who
they're not genuine.
Is. They're not genuine. You know, like, I mean, none of us on social media are who we really are. You know, like, for me in my life, I think some of the most freedom I've found is being able to talk about the struggles that I've gone through. Being able to talk about my struggles with addiction or my struggles with my self-worth. Being able to talk about those things has given me a lot of freedom to be myself. But you see, there's a lot of fear in if I tell you what I'm struggling with, you're not going to think I'm as strong. You're not going to think I'm as cool. So we don't tell people what we're struggling with.
Yeah.
But if you don't tell people what we're struggling with, we're never going to find freedom from that. And I don't think you can just get through your own struggle all by yourself.
Definitely. I agree very much.
In the Bible, it says, he who keeps his sins secret will not do well, but one who is open about them and gives them up will get mercy. So whether you're spiritual or not, that's fine. I don't care. But if you keep these things inside, you're not going to do well, right? If you keep mold in the darkness, it's just going to keep growing. But if you put mold in the light, right, you can attack it and get it. If you don't, you get a cut, but you keep it hidden, it's just going to get infected and gross. But if you take care of it, so I guess to me, being aware of who you are, being aware of your weaknesses, being aware of where you need help, gives you so much freedom and opportunity to grow.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not self-aware, if you're not aware of who you are, who you want to be, who you're supposed to be, if you're not aware of those things, you're never going to get there, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's so important that you take time to be alone, that you take time to be quiet, that you take time to listen to your heart, you take time to listen to your spirit, you take time to listen to your mentors and people in your life that can speak into you who you're supposed to be. But again, oftentimes we're so loud. We watch so much Netflix and we spend so much time on social media. We spend so much time shopping and trying to impress other people that we can't find ourselves. And if you're not yourself, you're never going to feel successful.
Mm-hmm.
And so you need to find some space and separate yourself from the things that are distracting you so that you can be at your best. So yeah, being self-aware, understanding your personality, understanding what you're good at is so important. And again, I think younger people, it's getting harder and harder to really find yourself because social media and even the government, I think, and so many influential people are trying to tell you what you're supposed to be like. They're trying to shape and mold you into a cookie-cut thing. And I think we're all so diverse and so beautiful in our diversity that my hope and dream is that people like you and people that would be watching this are going to thrive in their diversity, that they're going to be who they were created to be. But if we're trying to impress other people and fit in this cookie-cutter box, you're going to be like them. You're not going to be like you.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you can't be a good entrepreneur if you're just doing other people's ideas. You've got your own good ideas, and so you should do those. You shouldn't do their ideas. You should do your own.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but it's hard to get to that place.
Yeah.
And so it's very important to me because I think for a while I was just trying to be like other people.
So, here's the final question.
Yeah, man.
If you were 15 years old,
Yeah.
well, I guess, what would you tell your 15-year-old self?
Yeah.
What advice would you give about, just about anything? What advice would you give them if you could give anything?
Yeah, I would say, like I think one of the things I already said was don't be so consumed with the future that you forget about the present. I think you should set goals and you should look to the future, and you shouldn't only live so much in the present that you don't plan.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's not wise either.
There's
a healthy balance in that. So please hear me in that. There's very much a balance. But if you're only looking so far ahead, you're gonna walk off a cliff.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know. Tomorrow isn't promised.
Yeah.
So take care of the things that's in front of you. And set some goals in front of you that will help you get to where you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
But really, so I think that's the first thing. Don't be so consumed with the future of your life that you forget about the destiny of your day. So I think that's the first thing. And I think the second thing is again, like, is be confident in who you are and who you're created to be. I wasted a lot of time in my youth trying to impress other people that didn't care about me at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I lost a lot of valuable time and a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Man, I've had so much fun since I feel like been confident in my personality, since I've been confident in my identity.
Mm-hmm.
So I think don't waste all your time trying to impress other people, but continue to explore who you are, pursue your gifts and your personality. And if you're feeling like you're having to just impress somebody else, like you're probably not doing the right thing. Like, surround yourself with people who are encouraging you in what you enjoy and what you want to do, and you'll find your way. Like it'll happen. It really will. And so it's okay. Quit comparing, man. Comparison, man, that is a thief of joy. Man, that's so real. And so don't quit comparing yourself. Just be yourself, man. You were made to be who you are. And I would say explore that and be confident in that. And you'll find a lot more fun. You'll find a lot more joy. And I think ultimately you'll find a lot more success if you continue to be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So
would you consider entrepreneurialism to be the epitome of knowing yourself and finding what you love and being that completely?
Yeah, I'd say you're really articulate. I love that. I think you really hit the nail on the head. I think being a good entrepreneur in this world is exactly that. Is finding who you are, exploring that, and pushing it and developing that, who you're supposed to be. So for some of us, that is opening a big business.
Mm-hmm.
So that's opening a small business. Some of that's doing something creative in our family or in our friend group to help make them better.
Mm-hmm.
Those are all great entrepreneurial ideas that that take all these tactics that you learn about and that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But that could be on so many different scales than just being a startup person or owning a business. And I think, I think you're exactly right.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much,
You're
Tyler.
welcome.
I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it so much.
Absolutely.
An awesome conversation.
Cool, man.
This is the Virtual Mentor Program. My name is Isaac Wright again, and thank you for watching.